The agenda for today is I'm going to go over 2025 in review, how we did, and then we'll talk about 2026 going forward. Also, Crystal will be talking about the community spotlight, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Crystal?
Yep,
Okay, awesome.
sounds good.
Yep, and so she'll be talking about that after. So, okay, so the GitHub stats for 2025 review. So last year, we had a total it's of 156 contributors. I note that some of these numbers are a little different because LFX, which is the tool I use, it's an internal tool to Linux Foundation that allows for us to get easy stats on like our GitHub repos and stuff. Has been changing how they calculate everything. Uh, um, so if they seem a little different, that's why. We had, an increase by 7.6% our contributors. So for our pull requests, for our last year versus the year before, it's down by about 25%. And then the commits are also down. We had 4,251 commits last year. So new forks, uh, actually, that's not minus 57. That should be plus 57. But we have 386. Oh, we had 386 new forks uh, last year. And then new stars, we had 1,242 last year. And then our merge lead time was 9 days. And our median time to close, which is the most important aspect because this is kind of like you get rid of your extremes on the um, you know, either side. And this is the kind of what most people will see as the median time to close. And that was 3 days, which is amazing. And it was an improvement over 2024 as well. So, 3 times for people to, open up PR, get reviews in and get everything approved is, uh, you know, much better than I expected. Okay, so downloads for 2025. So we have so last year we ended with 112,354 downloads. So for 2024, we had 59,819, and it's not on here, but I do know it was around 40,000 for 2023. So we've been doing this accelerating growth essentially. So every year we're seeing an increase. But the but that growth is accelerating. It's pretty much doubling year over year with the growth rate. So we ended up with an 87.82% increase in downloads in 2025. And note, this only counts people who download the binaries of O3DE. This does not count people who grab from GitHub. That's a much harder stat to track. Um, so, but this isn't for people who build their own engines. This is people who use the pre-built engines that we provide. And what's interesting is so for 2024, our highest months were November, December. However, for 2025, our highest number was in October. And so that's something I want to look at. And you'll see, like, just across the board every month, in some cases, we like quadrupled or quintupled the amount of downloads compared to, so like February as an example. And one thing is when I looked at correlations, they're directly correlated to when we do releases. Even a point release causes a bump. Um, and so like you'll see like October's is really high. That's when we did um, the 22 or 25.10 release was in October around ROSCON time. So uh, Windows still is the our primary contributor to downloads. We do have Linux, and we do, and the development branch in particular sees a little bit of traffic, but not a lot. Most people rely on our main. So they rely on the finished product essentially for O3DE. Okay, so Discord. Discord, it was squirrely. It was very difficult for me to get like full year. This isn't all fully updated. So I had a very hard time getting data out of Discord. It is not a very good enterprise. Their metrics aren't very good for enterprises. We have I did check just recently since this was created. That's actually moved up to roughly 50% of our users are US based. We have users in, places like Singapore, Japan, a lot in Central Europe, surprising amount in France, the UK, various parts of the US, and then as well as Brazil was a big one as well for people downloading O3DE. Um, okay, so for our releases, we had two major releases last year, which was 25.5.0 and 25.10.0, May and October. Go back one. Uh, which was our general cadence of May and October. And then we did 4 point releases. So our first point release last year was in January, and that was for the 2409.2. And then we did 2505.1, 10.1, and 10.2. And for people who aren't aware, point releases are just bug fixes releases. It's basically there's something that we find that's egregious and stops the golden path, we will create a point release to fix that. Our latest point release, which was the 25.10.2, which was yesterday, actually, that released, and that fixed some issues with Visual Studio 2026, and also some issues with shaders when you're doing your final compiled binary, for the various platforms. Not all the shaders were being included, which was causing issues, and that should be resolved as well. Let's see. So planned releases. So we have several planned releases. We have the 26.5.0, which will be April or May. I wish someone from SIG Release was in here, but we haven't decided yet if it's going to be in April or May when we release. We typically hit May, but I know SIG Release is trying to move that into April timeframe to give a larger gap between the 26.5.0 and the 26.10.0. So there's more time for development for the October release. And then note, we tend to do a cadence of the .5 builds tend to be around gaming and focused around gaming. And then the .10s tend to be focused around robotics and simulation. Just because we're both are two very strong pillars for O3DE. And so, and it helps, give some variety as far as theming and stuff. But, the 26.5 will contain some things that help robotics and simulation, and 26.10 will contain things that help gaming as well. It's just more of a theme than anything. And it's primarily because for October, it's primarily because of ROSCON. And for early in the year, it's primarily because of the gaming conferences that tend to happen at the beginning of the year. Okay, so vision statement. This isn't changed too much from 2025. It's just basically, we'll continue to leverage O3D strengths and reduce blockers to increase momentum visibility across gaming, robotics, and film video. You'll notice that with that sentence, that also takes into account focus on quality over quantity. It's making O3DE usable for people because you can have 100 new features, but if it crashes every 10 seconds, then no one's going to use it. And so we focus on stability and performance first and feature second. Then we will, pursue prioritizing implementing technologies that improve O3D's viability, for things like content creation and interchange via, OpenUSD, which has been a lot of work happening with OpenUSD. And then support for industry relevant Linux distributions and Mac OS support, AI, and use quality of life. Now, for Mac OS support, that's currently in progress, which is awesome. Seeing that, and that is the ARM64, so the Apple native hardware. versions, and so I'm seeing. I saw there's a whole project around it now, project board, and I saw a lot of progress on that over the last week. So for AI, that came up yesterday in the TSC meeting, technical steering committee, and so we are thinking about forming a working group to focus on the AI piece of this, and then user quality of life and ease of installation. We did a lot of work on this in 2025, huge improvements, but we still need to continue this. That we can never let off the gas pedal for improving the quality of and the user experience in O3DE. So we've started doing outreaches to India. We have some outreach into APAC, particularly China. China is our largest download country by almost double compared to everybody else. And so they are an important country for us. And then we will continue to grow our community, ensuring to foster an inviting and inclusive environment, which hopefully everyone sees, like in our Discord channel. The moderators pride themselves on, us being one of the more inclusive and just easy to get into communities, compared to some of the other communities that are out there. Okay, so I hinted at this earlier for AI. So we are, for 2026, we're going to be working on the AI policy for O3DE, which is basically, if someone wants to use AI to contribute back to O3DE, either through code or through content, then what does that look like? What are the guidelines around that? And how do we, what are the expectations about that? So right now, the suggestion is what we call the person in the middle, which is, and a couple of other, open source projects are doing the same thing, where we have to prevent all the noise and having a bunch of like junk PRs essentially being submitted by AI. But at the same time, we don't want to limit people who are using AI legitimately and creating, good code with AI, as a companion. So what we've decided was, okay, let's make sure that any PRs that are going to go up that use AI, to help author, that there's a person involved to review, that code before the PR is created. We're still looking at exactly what that looks like and how people can request that. But what the goal is to allow people to use AI, because it would be kind of it wouldn't be a best practice for us to just say, you can't use AI for anything, because we would quickly fall behind if that was the case. But like I said, we need to guarantee that our reviewers and maintainers aren't getting overwhelmed by a whole bunch of junk PRs essentially getting created, and that has been a problem for some projects. And so yes, so just having a person take a look at it, make sure there's no glaring IP violations, there's no glaring, the code actually works, that kind of stuff. Also, this working group should also consider how O3D should utilize AI. So in other words, I do know that, for instance, our SIG platform, they're working on things to, add AI into the project manager so that you can just say, hey, create me a project that also includes these gems. And then you can say, okay, from this project, remove these gems, et cetera. So you don't have to go through and like do a bunch of point and click. You can just describe what you want, and then the project manager will create it for you. Which that's going to be awesome once that gets in. And then also in the editor as well, I do know we have one company that's been working on content creation side of things. And then we also have the SIG platform chair who's been working on the just being able to tell the editor like, hey, here's what I want to do, and then have it do it. So there's a lot of work going on in the AI space, but we need to make sure we have a very clear path forward on it, because it'd be very easy for us to get into some murky legal and IP issues, if we're not careful about how we handle AI going forward. Okay, remember that roadmap. So for the roadmaps, remember these things are living documents. Because something's on the roadmap, that doesn't guarantee it's going to be done. And because we rely on volunteer contributors for most of the work that's getting done. It's not a best practice to, use, to be strict about, okay, this work has to be done by this date and this work has to be done because people have lives and they work and, things come up. And so these are more, so like for our roadmaps, they're more like, these are intentions, I guess, of what we want to do. Right now, it's in a document. We will move that out from the document. Can people see this document? Oops, did I have up? Yeah, so it looks like people can. For 2026, we have, two major releases planned, the April, May, and then the October. Our features currently planned for the next release that's coming up for 2604, 2605, depending on if it's April or May. The particle engine editor, Jolt physics, standalone script canvas, some work that's been done for getting the our entity prefab system to operate much like how other engines work. And so that work's going to be coming in as well. A lot of bug fixes, improvements, particularly in script canvas. I know the chair for the content, SIG content, is doing a lot of work there. And then there's also work being done for C# support in O3DE. So that's an active project that's happening now. A lot of work has been happening. That seems to be coming together pretty quickly, actually. One of the things we would like to see is reinforcement learning. This is primarily for the robotics and simulation space. I'd like to see integrations also into some tool sets for AI. One of the things we've talked about is having a company do an enterprise support structure so that companies have someone they can call at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I need help. But that is not directly done by the foundation. That'll likely would be a third-party company that would handle that. Mac OS native support, that is also heavily in progress. I see the project board updating on that very frequently, several times a week. And so that is awesome. There's been talk of a gems and plugins market. We actually have a third party that is willing to provide a source for creating this because they've got an open source thing that they've done. Web GPU support, we're about halfway through that. The hard part's the WebAssembly. Working on full USD support. More tutorials. I think that's one of the most important things we can do right now is more tutorials. And also better documentation. And I talked with SIG Docs yesterday, and they are working with some people to essentially use AI to allow easier access of documentation from inside the editor, as well as to get rid of kind of the blank pages that we have for particular features and stuff like that. And so to make sure that, everything has viable documentation across the board. And I know, JT, you're a little bit involved in that, correct? And then we also have, let's see, migration guides for, engines from other engines robotics. So this is like, hey, I'm a Unity user. I want to use O3DE for my project. And so therefore this guide kind of shows you how to migrate from Unity to O3DE or from Unreal to O3DE or from Godot to O3DE, etc. One of the things I know that there's discussions in Discord now about, there's a conversation happening around Beautiful Corner, which also could be used for tutorials and content, but it's to really show off the capabilities of O3DE and a ready-made project that people can just download and inspect and use. And then, so one of the things I've been doing is talking with the Drone Foundation, which is also a part of the Linux Foundation, to do drone support as well. And there's a little bit of work happening there, hoping to get that fully moving forward for 2026. Virtual geometry support similar to that in Rail. What's funny here is that there are actually 3 companies who have done this for O3DE, and it's just convincing one of them to open source their tech for this. So, and then we have, water rendering, volumetric fog, volumetric lighting. This one's mostly done, the finalized CI/CD move from Jenkins to GitHub. That's a big cost savings for the foundation. And also, because GitHub Actions is more well known in the open source space than Jenkins, it means that people can just grab our GitHub Actions to build their own pipelines if they want to, for O3DE, for their own internal use. We are going to have to do a security audit of our CI/CD infrastructure in 2026 or early 2027. This is something that our CI/CD team is aware of. And then more tooling for virtual production, and either updating or replacing TrackView in particular, because TrackView is very old. It actually comes from Cry. It's been somewhat updated, so an engineer spent several months updating it so it's usable, but it doesn't provide anywhere near what someone who's doing actual virtual production would need. But these are just some of the items that we're looking at for 2026. A lot there. Any questions? Any questions for that? Okay. So some of our potential goals, again, continue making our documentation easier to contribute to and update. Documentation is extremely important because that, for new users in particular, is the first place they look for help. And then, we want to increase our downloads by 25% over 2025. Continue focusing on our quality over features. And then we have the 2 releases, and that's it. So I'm moving up for Q&A now. I can't see the chat, so I don't know if anyone has.
Well, JT did confirm when you asked, was he involved in that? So he did say yes. So
Yeah.
that was one thing. So
Okay. Overall, 2025 was amazing for O3DE. Like the amount of growth was phenomenal, essentially. O3D is being taken seriously now. People know what it is, and we're just going to continue doing that. Yeah, and so that's it for me. For my presentation is pretty quick, because these sorts of things usually are, unless there's a lot of questions. So Crystal, did you want to talk about your
Yeah, it's not going to be
this?
too long. So we made this blog here that I put in the chat. Um, so there's an opportunity for a contributor spotlight that we want to spread out because we want to show the humans of O3DE and all the contributions. And it doesn't have to be super technical. It could even be about your experience at industry events, experience as one of the SIG members. It could be outside the scope of just anything technical. Um, and if you know of anyone who's like working on something cool, you could send this link along as well. Just it has some instructions there as to how they can submit their contributions to showcase what they're working on. And yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Which is like a way that you guys can like showcase some demos or anything and everything.
Yeah, and so Reese, you've been pretty active in the community, so you would be a candidate to do. And I've participated in these before. If I'm not mistaken, Crystal, we send a questionnaire to the person, they answer the questions on that, and then it's up to them if they want to do like a video or if they just want to keep it as a text-based entry or not.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep. And so Reese, I think actually you would be a great candidate for that, and then JT as well. But anyone can do it. And it's really just to help people, it's to help spotlight you essentially as a person, and then also help people understand kind of the breadth of our community, and that anyone can be involved in the community and the types of people who are involved in our community.
Yes, thank you so much. But yeah, that was everything. We'd love to hear from you guys, and those forms go directly to me. So you can always reach out to me on Discord too. That Sujong person is me. That's my Korean name. So yeah, you can reach out anytime.
Okay, any questions? Is there anything you would want to have seen, or any questions you have about like our moving forward? So the one thing we're doing with the roadmap is that we will get that into, there's a project board set up. And so I'm just going to get all those items, put into the project board now. Uh, and and so that way it's accessible by everybody. And they can take a look and see like, oh, these are the things that people are working on or that we want worked on. Um, but is there anything that people feel is missing? Okay, unless let's see the chat. Oh, let's see.
Yeah, QD6 is going to be very important this year. But we are
Oh,
actively
yes.
working on that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And that
I'll make
sort of
sure that
unlocks the Wayland compositor, as mentioned in the chat, for Linux.
yeah, and thank you for the compliment, Connor. Uh, yeah, that's one of the things that we strive to do, is answer questions. There are no, stupid questions, and everyone should feel free to ask what they need to in order to move forward. But yes, QT6 Wayland for sure. I'll get that updated into the doc. So we're still working those out with GDC, SIGGRAPH, et cetera. I'll talk to Naomi about that actually today, because that is a really good question about how we want to handle these things for 2026. We also might have, it looks like we're going to have a presence at scale. We're still working that out as well. And I hope to be there for that, but we'll see. So if Atom being upgraded, that really is a question of for SIG graphics, and also what are the needs. And so what we would need to know is, what do you mean by better graphics in the future? So will Atom continue to be upgraded? Yes. But it's primarily based on the interest of the contributors who are contributing to Atom. Uh, Atom is pretty good. Like, it's actually the one of the best open source renderers on the market, if not the best open source renderer right now. But yes, it will have to be maintained because things are moving forward rapidly in the graphics space, and particularly when we start seriously jumping into film and video, you need to have a very, very, very high quality renderer to do that. So I guess the short answer is yes, it will be. That is the purview of SIG Graphics, so they're the best place to ask that question. And it will really depend upon who's willing to do what work in Atom, essentially. So will we have a demo project to showcase the power of O3DE for the community? And the answer is yes. Like, that's a huge thing. We currently right now have starter game, but it's gotten pretty long in the tooth. And it's but I know JT is working with several people get that updated. But for me, the NPS is a little bit different from like a Beautiful Corner, where a Beautiful Corner is more like specifically showing off all the features of Atom and of the engine, whereas the NPS is more about a game essentially, and how you can make a multiplayer game in O3DE. But tutorials, demo projects, keeping NPS updated, those are all like priorities that we need to address in 2026. Appear to be any other questions? We are always reachable on the Discord channel or server. And I regularly, pretty much on a daily basis, go through and answer questions as I can, etc. So feel free to pop in there and ask any questions you may have. Otherwise, I think we are finished with this particular Connect meeting.